Thank you very much for joining us once again. And of course, if it is your first time tuning in, thank you very, very much for checking us out. This episode, we are looking ahead to United at home against Brentford, a must-win game for United. We keep saying that their season kicks off on the next game, but United badly need a win. We need 3 points and we need to get ourselves up the table. Currently sitting in 10th after 7 games, Brentford 14th after 7 games. Both teams not really in a very good, strong run of form at the moment, and both need a little bit of a pick-me-up. Not a great next fixture for Brentford, but United would typically go into this game, especially without Ivan Toney, with a bit of swagger in their step. But such has United's defensive frailties been and inability to keep leads that those 3 points are far from assured. So today we're going to look ahead to Man United v Everton. Let's get into it. United come into this game a bit of a wounded beast, with the result against Galatasaray in midweek not exactly going according to plan for Erik ten Hag's men. This is not a game that we should be typically worried about, but we cannot guarantee 3 points against anyone. Our performance against Wolves was atrocious. Our performance against Forest was weak, despite us just about escaping jail on that one. And of course, we've been appalling against Brighton, Spurs. Did a little bit better against Arsenal, but again, still didn't come away with anything. So United cannot really come into any game expecting 3 points the way they're playing at the moment. All injuries aside, United can only rest on that so much. Unlike last season, when United built a very strong Premier League campaign based on a very mean defence, we still only conceded 43 goals, which by usual standards isn't title-winning defensive performance. But 17 of those 43 goals were conceded in 3 games. The 6-3 against City, the 4-0 against Brentford, and of course the 7-0 against Liverpool. So over a third of our goals were conceded in 3 games. If it was a 35-game season, which of course we know it wasn't, but in 35 games, United only conceded 26 goals last season. That is title-winning defensive performance. Look back at any of United's historical title-winning teams. The amount of goals we conceded ranged anywhere from the high 20s to the early 40s. So a return of 26 goals conceded out of 35 games is a fantastic result, and of course we owed that to a very solid defence, with Luke Shaw staying fit for a majority of the season, as did Martinez and Varane, with Wan-Bissaka kind of coming into his own and providing a very strong right hand side right back performance. We haven't had that luxury this year. United didn't score a lot last year. We only scored, I think, 56 goals. A third of those came from Marcus with 17 goals. He didn't provide many assists, only 5 assists all season. So while he was good on the goals front, his assists were very, very poor. Primarily because there was no other attacking outlet. Sancho wasn't good, Greenwood was gone, Antony was finding his feet and again not playing all that well, and we had Wout Weghorst come in to try and give us something up front, but didn't score a single league goal. Anthony Martial was injured, so the responsibility fell on Marcus Rashford, and given his previous 2 seasons, that was an extremely scary thought indeed. I did release an episode earlier today answering the question, is Marcus Rashford a world-class player? So please check that out after this video and see what you think. So Marcus Rashford, in fairness to him, did step up to the plate and did bang in a lot of goals for us. But again, he got a 350 grand a week contract off the back of that season, which I think was ridiculous. And I'll go into that in the video about Marcus Rashford. He scored 17 goals. He was 6th in the Premier League goal scoring charts. Ahead of him was Callum Wilson, Ivan Toney, Harry Kane, Rasmus Højlund, and I can't remember the fifth, but there was 5 players ahead of Marcus. It was a good season, but Martinelli got 15, Odegaard got 15, and in some outlets they say that Marcus got 16 goals, not 17, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here, but he didn't fare too much better against Arsenal's attacking midfielder and Martinelli. Saka got 13 goals, but he got 11 assists. And he also got 13 goals while other members of the team were also taking the ball and taking chances and scoring goals themselves. So United were a very low-scoring team last season. We got a lot of 1-0s, a lot of 0-0s, a lot of 1-1s as well. So we weren't that potent going forward. The opposite is now seeming to be true of United. We're scoring lots of goals. In our first two Champions League games, we scored 5 goals and we've come away with 0 points. So the opposite is happening us this season. We're defensively very, very weak, and we're starting to put together our attack. Now, our defence at the moment has been held together with blue tack and sellotape. But again, we should still have the manpower to be able to keep the goals out. When you look at the goals we've conceded, it hasn't been through incredible attacking play on behalf of the opposition. It's been through dumb mistakes. Really dumb mistakes. And you can say all goals are because of dumb defensive mistakes. That's not true. You can just be up against a very potent attacking team. You get overloaded. There's just nothing you can do. The quality is just too much. United have been conceding 2 goals in 4 minutes against Forest. That's not because you're tactically weak or your men are just not up to it. That's just stupidity to concede those types of goals. It's lapses of concentration. Onana giving away, basically providing the assist for that player to come through on goal and passing it directly to a Galatasaray player. Onana has not looked good, and we've been defensively weak. So far, he has not been an upgrade on De Gea, and De Gea should be gone. He was not good, and he was losing us matches single-handedly, especially big ones where trophies were on the line. So the people calling, De Gea would have saved that, trying to rewrite history, you need to kind of sit down and shut the fuck up. De Gea needed to go. We needed an improvement on De Gea. Is Onana that improvement? It remains to be seen. But these calls for De Gea should be back. Just stop. No, he needed to go. I mean, do you remember all the mistakes? I mean, he was doing exactly the mistakes that Onana was doing. But, we're remembering the good times, so we're trying to rewrite history, okay? So Onana needs to play himself back into form, and I'd certainly have him starting this game. He needs the confidence of the manager and the team, and he needs to throw in a couple of good performances to get him up to speed. Lots of keepers have been like that, especially David De Gea, and they all go through it. So we just need to support Onana, and hopefully he gets back into form. We've also seen him not hug the box as much at the D of the box. We used to see him quite advanced. I was at Old Trafford to see Onana's debut against Lens, and he was very advanced. I think with the dearth of defensive options available to United, I think it's been quite clearly instructed to Onana to get back in your box. We're not going to be playing out. We're not going to be playing a very high defensive line because we just don't have the personnel to play that kind of tactics, given that basically our first choice in every defensive position, now barring Varane, are not available. So United need to start trying to booking up their ideas defensively, because we are starting to get some stuff in attack. Rasmus Højlund has been looking very potent. 2 goals, could have been 3 against Galatasaray. He really is starting to find his feet. So United need to kind of get their shit together when it comes to their defence. It is very poor, it's very makeshift, and I think the Amrabat at left-back experiment needs to finish. Okay, he did a job against Burnley, but he's a right-footed midfielder playing as a left fullback. That's like McFred going in at left back. Imagine McTominay or Fred going in at full back. You'd be scratching your head going, what? That's essentially what he's being asked to do. He's not that kind of player. Yes, we do live in an age where we have a 3-2-2-3 formation. Fullbacks are coming in with the number 6 to create a box midfield. So Amrabat is doing that. Yeah, Amrabat is doing that. And guess what happened? He got absolutely overran for Galatasaray's second goal, I believe. And I said it on my tweet. Look at my tweets at InsideManUtdPod. I said Amrabat's going to play at left back. I got my lineup absolutely dead on, by the way. It's the first time all season I've actually predicted the right lineup for United. But yeah, I knew Amrabat would be at left back, and I didn't want that to happen. I said, we're going to concede a goal down there. We're going to be very weak, and we're going to get overrun. They do have very good attacking players, Galatasaray, and that's exactly what happened. Amrabat did what midfielders do. They like to advance. They like to come in a little bit. And what happened? He got absolutely overrun, and there was a ton of space behind him, and, we concede a goal. So the Amrabat at left-back experiment needs to finish. Now, this is the second time I've done this video, because I did it earlier, got it all done, but my microphone wasn't properly plugged in and the audio was shite. And by the end of the video, I'd actually changed my lineup. So I'm not going to repeat the same cadence of video I did beforehand. I did change my defensive line. I was going to bring in Dalot at left back and then bring Lindelof in at right back, because he has played there for Sweden, and at least we have defenders in defensive positions. Man City do this. They've got 6 centre halves and they play them at full back. Okay, we've seen Akanji and Ake and Vardiol and all these different players come in the fullback position, particularly on the left, and filling in on the right when Kyle Walker's not available. So defenders should know how to defend, whether you're a fullback or a centre half. Okay, defending is defending. So we should have defenders doing that. Now I had Lindelof at right back, Dalot at left back, and to have either Maguire or Evans partnering Varane in the centre. But it does look like Reguilon is going to be potentially fit. They're talking about him being rushed back into form to get him ready for this game. We do have an international break after the Brentford game, so taking a risk on players that might or might not be ready isn't as great as it would be ordinarily in a normal part of the season. So I think we can take a risk, and Reguilon is going to start at left back, because if he does have a niggle, we can take him off. He's going to have plenty of time to recover over the international break, and we can just take that risk and see how we do. If he isn't right, we can take him off and do a little bit of a reshuffle. But I think Reguilon starts at left back, and we get Diogo Dalot in his more favoured right back. I'm not a big fan of Dalot. I was a few years ago. I thought that he could come in and do something. I wanted him to come in ahead of Wan-Bissaka. I was looking forward to getting him back from Milan, but he has shown me enough over the last couple of seasons to prove that he just isn't good enough. He's one of these fullbacks that can play well. He can get forward. He's good in attack. He's too absent-minded in defence. He does make mistakes. He does lose his runner. He does lose his man. He gives away cheap balls in United's half, and he did that in that game against Lens in their first home game of the pre-season where Onana made his debut. I was in the corner looking at Dalot make 3 mistakes, giving the ball away in our own half within about 20 minutes. And this is what he does. He can't be relied upon, and I think as soon as Wan-Bissaka is back, Dalot is not going to get a look in on this team. A good backup option to have, maybe, but I think we can do better, and I don't think he'd be getting anywhere near the bench at Liverpool or City, so why should he be getting that opportunity at United? However, we have what we have. So Dalot at left back and Reguilon in at left back, Onana in goal, and at centre half I would be moving Lindelof in there beside Varane, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Johnny Evans maybe get the nod and maybe give Lindelof a rest. I don't think he's been playing particularly well either. Evans, when he has come on, has done well, so listen, why not reward the guy with a game that I think we really do need to win? He set up a great goal for Bruno. He almost got a goal himself that was wrongfully, in my opinion, disallowed. So I say give Johnny Evans a bit of a run out and see how he does. In the midfield, I think we're going to see the Amrabat Casemiro axis finally coming into play, and there's a player for older watchers or viewers. There's a very famous Irish international called John Giles. He was a pundit in Ireland for years. He was a very good Leeds midfielder, won the title with Leeds back in the day with Billy Bremner and all those guys. He doesn't understand the idea. Now, he's a bit of a more old school kind of Irish, I don't understand the modern game or these kind of players type of guy, but he does speak a lot of sense, and he's a very well recognised pro and very well decorated. He doesn't understand the defensive midfielder idea. He was like, if Billy was forward, I'd be back, and if I went forward, Billy came back. And that's how midfielders should be. If one is forward, one should be back, and you should both be capable of doing both roles. And I think Amrabat and Casemiro are. Casemiro has shown amazing attacking nous this season and last season. He has 11 goals. He's had 21 goal involvements. Casemiro's a real threat going forward. You can see him consistently trying to get on the end of things. And he's setting play up as well. His passing has been quite good as well. But he's been a little bit weird in the defensive department. Now, is it because he's being isolated? Is it because, our defence isn't able to pick up any mistakes that he makes? Is he a victim of this poor defence as well? I think it's a mixture of everything. But I want to see Casemiro go forward and Amrabat hang back. I also want to see Amrabat go forward and Casemiro hang back. So I want to see them alternating those 6 and 8 positions whenever it's called for, whenever they find themselves in the right or wrong positions to come in and cover for each other and get forward when one is back and vice versa. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing it. And I think every United fan is looking forward to seeing Amrabat and Casemiro playing in that kind of double pivot at the base of United's midfield. Of course, Bruno is going to be coming in at number 10. Personally, I would drop Bruno. I don't think he's been playing very well. I don't think he's been playing very well for about a year and a half now. And his goals and assists just aren't there the way they used to be when he first came into the club. The stats are there, look them up. But he is our captain, and we do want to play him into form. We do have an international break coming up for a couple of weeks, so maybe we just want to try and give him as many minutes before he's gone. I personally wouldn't be playing him. I would be resting him, maybe bringing him on for the last half an hour if we needed to chase a goal. But I think Bruno looks a little bit tired. He had a very big pre-season. I think he's knackered already, and I think we need to rest him as often as possible. So I would rest him, but I think he's going to play. So for the sake of this episode, I'm going to stick him in at number 10. But I would have someone else there. I'd actually have Mason Mount in at number 10. I'd have Garnacho on the left and Rashford on the right, with Højlund up front. That's how I would like to play, but Captain Fantastic is not going to be dropped. So I think we're going to see Bruno Fernandes in as his number 10, his typical position. Højlund, of course, gets the start. He's really starting to find some momentum. His youth, his energy, his size, his power, his vision, his work rate, his everything. This kid looks real exciting, and he's starting to fulfill the promise that I think we all were hoping he would be able to show, particularly given his price tag and particularly given the fact that we didn't really get any other strikers in that department. So Højlund to continue his rich vein of form up front. Looking forward to seeing that. It's those wide positions that I think the big questions need to be asked. I do think Rashford's going to start left, and I think Mount is going to start right. I would actually have them the opposite, but if you looked at the Galatasaray game, they were doing that anyway. Some of Rashford's best play came in from the right hand side. His cross came in from the right hand side, and it was pin perfect on Højlund's head. It was a beautiful cross. He, of course, then got that through ball from Eriksen, and again, he was on that right hand side. He played the ball left into the running Bruno Fernandes. An awful decision. He should have taken the shot, but if you are going to make that decision, just wait the pass enough to beat the final defender. Even if it's too heavy, Bruno can adjust his run. He can go he can go left. If he needs to speed up and go forward, he can. If he needs to drop back, he had so much room to make up for any lack of pace or direction on that pass. All Rashford had to do was beat that second defender, and he just gave it back to them. It was a bad decision, badly executed. But does he get that assist? If he gets that goal, all of a sudden Marcus had a great game. He didn't really have a good game. And to be honest, I think Marcus should be dropped. He's been appalling since the beginning of the season. But again, will that affect his confidence? Personally, I don't give a shit. If you're not playing, we're not here to babysit you until you feel better about yourself. If you're not doing it, you got to get out. But, he's our star boy for now, until Højlund takes that crown, or Garnacho. But I think Rashford is going to start left. I think Mount is going to be on the right, and I think they're going to be alternating wings. Again, if Garnacho doesn't do what he's supposed, if Rashford doesn't do what he's supposed to do, I'm hoping that Garnacho comes in and takes that spot. If Bruno's having a slow game, I would like to see Bruno taken off, with Mount moved into that number 10 position, Rashford moved out onto the right, and Garnacho out onto the left. We do have some amazing flexibility and variations of play up on that final third. So I'd be excited to kind of see a little bit of a mix and match and seeing what we can do. The goals are there. We're scoring goals. 3 against Bayern, 2 against Galatasaray. We're scoring goals this season. We just can't keep them out of the other fucking end. So as long as the boys keep doing what they're doing and we try and keep things tight at the back, I think we're all right. Brentford don't come into this game in a rich vein of form. They started the season well. They got a win and 2 draws, one of those draws against Spurs. But in their last 4 games, they've had 2 draws and 2 losses. They drew their last game against Forest. They lost against Everton. They drew 2-2 against Bournemouth as well. So they haven't been playing well against the teams that typically should be around them at the bottom of the table, and they've been leaky. They've not been scoring a huge amount. They haven't been getting a lot of points. They obviously lost to Newcastle as well, I think 3-1. So Brentford in bad need of a victory as well. These are 2 teams struggling to replicate last year's form and badly need a win. I'm just hoping that United prove too much for Brentford. Brentford haven't been that strong up front. They haven't been scoring a lot of goals. They have been quite leaky. Of course, the danger man for Brentford is going to be Johan Visa, the centre forward that's obviously picking up the slack that's been left by Ivan Toney, and Mbeumo, who was doing really well last year, even with Ivan Toney there, thinking that he was going to step up to the mark and get a few more goals. In the absence of Ivan Toney, he did start the season well, but again, they're not as potent up front as they usually are with Ivan Toney. Norgard, of course, as their central midfielder coming forward. I think he got a goal in his last game, and Matthias Jensen as well. These are the key danger men that United need to keep an eye on. These are the players that I think pose the biggest threat to United. But as long as United just keep their shit together and put in some sort of a defensive display, I think with Amrabat and Casemiro shielding the defence, which we haven't had all season, I think with Amrabat coming in and and Reguilon coming in, who is an actual left back, I think things are going to be a little bit tighter at the back for United. I think we're going to have too much for them going forward, and I am predicting a Manchester United win here. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think we might be a bit leaky. We usually are. One dumb lapse of concentration, we're going to concede a goal, whether it's from Onana or Lindelof or Dalot or God knows who, but it's in us to do it. So to say we're not going to concede is frankly naive. Of course, I hope we don't, but I think if you're a gambling man, the way United are at the moment, I think it's pretty clear that they're going to concede a goal. But I do think we're going to have a little bit too much going forward, and I predict we're going to bang in a couple of goals. Hopefully a hat-trick for Rasmus. I'd love to see Rashford get on the score sheet, get his confidence back up and get back into play. Despite my last video on is Marcus really world class, check that out. I do wish the guy all the goodwill in the world. I want to see him score. I want to see him get back into form. So my match prediction, Manchester United 3, Brentford 1. Fingers crossed. Come on, boys. Let's get ourselves 3 points on the board and kickstart our season. Thank you very much for joining in. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think my team is pretty accurate? Is that what you want to see? Would you prefer to see someone else coming in there? Who would you drop? Who would you bring in? What are your score predictions? What do you think this match is going to end up at? Thanks again for tuning in. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Please support the channel in any way you can if you're liking this content. Enjoy the match. 3 o'clock Saturday, Old Trafford, Manchester United against Brentford. I'll see you after the game for a bit of a review. Thanks again for joining in. I'll see you on the next one.